The wind howled like it knew your pain. The moonlight shimmered over the surface of the dark river below, indifferent to the soul it was about to claim. Your hands trembled as you clutched the cold railing of the bridge, eyes locked on the violent current. You hadn't planned to come here, it just happened, like everything else in your life. They said things get better. They lied. They said time heals, but your time had only sharpened the pain. Earlier that evening, you had come home to find the last of your dignity torn to shreds. Your stepmother's words still rang in your ears. You were a burden the moment you were born. Your father hadn't looked up. Your so called best friend had betrayed your last ounce of trust a week ago. The boy you thought loved you used you like a trophy and dumped you when you refused to sleep with him. And that letter of rejection from the only university that could have taken you out of this hell, sat crumpled in your pocket like a final nail in your coffin. So here you were standing at the edge, ready to disappear. You stepped forward and a hand grabbed your wrist. It wasn't soft or unsure, it was firm, unmovable. You spun around, startled, ready to scream, but the words never came. There he was, a stranger. Tall, dressed in black, dark hair falling perfectly against his sharp face, eyes deeper than the night sky. He had this stillness about him, but his grip burned with urgency. What the hell are you doing? His voice wasn't panic, it was angry, like your pain had personally offended him. You struggled to free yourself, hot tears streaking your cheeks. Let me go, please, just let me go. No, he said simply. And that broke something in you. Why? You don't even know me. You screamed, trying to yank your hand back. I don't have to know you to stop you from making the biggest mistake of your life. You looked at him through a blur of tears. There's nothing left for me. No one cares if I live or die. He stared at you for a long, painful moment. His eyes, no, his soul looked like it recognized yours. I do, he said quietly, and there was silence for some time. That was the moment your legs gave out. You collapsed to your knees on the bridge, sobbing into your palms. He didn't say a word, he just knelt beside you and held your shaking form like you weren't broken glass. Just human. After what felt like hours, you whispered, why were you here? Why stopping me? Please, I'm begging you. Leave me alone. I don't want to live. He let out a breath and looked away, just passing by, or maybe fate sent me. You almost laughed through the pain. Fate hates me. Fate is the reason I found you before the river did. You didn't reply, you were too tired. The silence stretched, but it didn't feel awkward. It felt like the stillness after a storm. Then he shifted, clearing his throat slightly. You should go home, rest, think about it. Things might feel different tomorrow. You let out a small breath, somewhere between a sigh and a broken laugh. Your eyes lifted to meet his, hollow and shining with unshed tears. Home? You repeated like the word was just a joke. That laugh, short and cracked, didn't reach your eyes. I don't have a home. In fact, I have nowhere to go. Neither do I want to. You didn't stop there. The pain was already rising up your throat, choking you, so you let it bleed. I have given everything I had, my time, my love, my patience, my worth, and all I got in return was silence, betrayal, and doors slammed in my face. You swallowed hard. Now everyone's turned their back on me, just like they always do. The streetlight above flickered once, casting a ghostly shadow across your face, and that was when it happened. You saw it the moment your words broke him. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, but his jaw clenched. His chest rose with sharp breath, and his hand curled into a loose fist by his side. He stared at you for a long time, and he did something no one had done in your life. Not even once. He reached out his hand, steady, open, warm despite the night. Then come with me. You blinked. What? If you have nowhere to go, just come with me. Why would I trust a complete stranger? You whispered, not out of bitterness but disbelief. His gaze didn't waver. You already trusted me enough to share your pain. Something flickered in your eyes. You looked at his extended hand, and then a voice in your head said that you can trust in him. Your eyes welled up again, not from pain this time, but something dangerously close to hope, and that terrified you. Still, you looked at his hand, and this time you took it. Not because you believed in fate, not because you trusted him, but because something in his voice, something in his eyes whispered, "You are allowed to be saved too." The silence in the car felt different now. You weren't trembling anymore, but you weren't stable either, just existing somewhere between numb and overwhelmed. You watched the buildings blur past until the car slowed and turned down a private road flanked with tall hedges and security posts. Your brows knit in confusion. This wasn't a regular neighborhood. And then you saw it, the mansion. Giant steel gates slid open without a word. Security cameras tracked the vehicle. Two men in suits stood at attention as the car passed, their expressions blank but alert. Your heart skipped. Who the hell was he? The thought crossed your mind. The car finally stopped in front of a grand marble entranceway. Before you could reach for the handle, a man in black stepped forward and opened the door for him. He stepped out, then walked around and opened the door for you himself. "Come," he said quietly. You stepped out slowly, eyes scanning the surroundings, the guards, the iron gates, the sheer scale of the place. Your thoughts must have shown on your face because he turned to you and said in a low voice, "Don't be afraid. You're safe here." Safe, such a simple word, but it wrapped around your bruised soul like a blanket. You followed him up the steps. The front doors opened without a knock. Two more men bowed their heads as he passed. And just like that, you knew he wasn't just rich, he wasn't just powerful, he was feared. He was a mafia king. He led you through high ceilinged halls, past walls lined with framed oil paintings and polished chandeliers. The floor echoed beneath your steps. Every corner of the place felt cold and untouchable until you reached a hallway that felt warmer, quieter. He stopped in front of a tall white door and opened it. "This is the guest room," he said, stepping aside. "It's yours for now." You glanced at him, still trying to piece everything together. "Just for tonight," he added. "Tomorrow, I'll make sure everything you need is ready." You swallowed hard, words tangled on your tongue, but your body was too tired, your mind too shattered to ask questions. You stepped in slowly just before the door closed. His voice came again. "Your dinner will be brought up in 5 minutes. Eat it." And he was gone. Exactly 5 minutes later, a knock echoed through the room. A maid stepped in, dressed in black, head slightly bowed. She placed a silver tray on the table, steaming soup, fresh bread, and a warm glass of milk. She said nothing, just bowed and left. You stared at the food, then at a reflection in the mirror across the room. You looked like someone who didn't belong here, like a ghost hiding in a palace. You ate quietly, slowly, mechanically, and that night, though you laid on the softest bed you had ever touched, you didn't sleep, not really. The next morning, you stepped into the hallway, blinking under the morning light. Your body was clean, clothed, fed, but your mind was still a storm. You noticed the guards. They looked at you, not with disrespect but confusion, like they couldn't figure out what you had done. Because for the first time in their lives, the man they followed, the mafia king they feared, was in the kitchen cooking. You paused in the corridor, disoriented. You watched as he carefully flipped something in a pan, then reached for a bowl of fruit. He was still in black, sleeves rolled up, tattoos just barely peeking out under his wrist. But he didn't look like the man who barked orders or carried blood on his hands. He looked calm, and then he turned and saw you. "Come here," he said simply. You walked forward slowly, hesitant, unsure what version of him this was. He placed a plate down in front of you, pancakes stacked with butter melting on top, a spread of sliced strawberries, blueberries, and banana on the side. Next to it, a warm glass of orange juice. "Sit," he said. You said. He poured syrup over the pancakes, then added, "You didn't eat much last night." You glanced at him. How do you know? I checked. You blinked. Why? Because it matters. He said that shut you up. He sat across from you, watching you pick at your plate. His voice was quieter now. You didn't sleep either. No. There was a short pause, then he smiled faintly. Eat. You'll need energy. You're going shopping after this. Your fork froze. What? You need clothes, shoes, everything. I had your size estimated last night. I don't need anything. Not your help. You whispered the last line, looking down as if unsure. He tilted his head. It's not help. You set your fork down, frustrated. Then what is it? He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. You almost ended your life yesterday. You looked away and I stopped you. So now, that life, it's mine to protect. Your eyes snapped to his, but he wasn't done. You don't have to accept anything. You can hate me if it makes you feel in control, but I will give you every reason to stay alive, whether you like it or not. You blinked rapidly. I don't deserve this. His voice dropped, more serious now. No one's ever told you you do. That's the problem. Silence, and then he stood up. Get ready, my man will drive us. And he walked away. Guards watched you as you left with him, silent and wide eyed, and in their eyes, one thought echoed louder than bullets. He's never done this before, not for anyone. She must be important. But you didn't see any of that because you were too busy wondering, why does it feel like I'm breathing again? The car pulled back into the mansion's driveway just as the sun dipped behind the skyline, casting a warm orange hue across the marble steps. You were exhausted, not from the shopping, from trying to process everything. It wasn't just shopping, it was a revolution. He didn't just take you to a boutique, he bought the boutique. Literally, the manager had locked the doors behind you, turning away customers. Stylists rushed with racks of luxury clothes, all your size, all handpicked, under his quiet direction. Dresses that shimmered like dreams, loungewear softer than clouds, pajamas, perfumes, shoes, rows of them. By the time you returned home, your room had transformed. You stood there at the doorway, breath caught in your throat. There was a vanity filled with makeup you never dared to touch in stores, shelves stacked with new books. Your wardrobe now glowed with silks, velvets, satins, things you once saw only on mannequins through the stores. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't meant to flaunt his wealth. It was the language of a man who didn't know how to express softness, so he showed it in the only way he could. Is this? You turned to him, eyes wide. Normal? He looked at you from the doorway, one hand in his pocket. No, he said simply. Nothing about you is. You blinked. That was a compliment. You laughed genuinely, and something in his eyes shifted, like your smile peeled back a layer of darkness inside him. That night, as you wandered the halls for water, you heard it. Whispers, two guards speaking in hushed voices near the staircase. Have you noticed? He's different. Yeah, it's like he's human again. Never seen him cook for someone, let alone laugh. You paused in the shadows. Their words shouldn't have mattered, but they did because they confirmed what you already knew. He was changing, and so were you. Days passed. Somehow laughter returned to your mouth like it had always lived there. You found yourself joking, teasing, running around barefoot in the kitchen at midnight, trying to flip pancakes and failing miserably. You'll burn the mansion down, he said, crossing his arms, watching you struggle with the spatula. Then you should have taught me properly how to cook. I did. And I'm trying, and also because I'm your guest and you're supposed to say yes. You have stopped being a guest the day you took my hand on that bridge. Silence. You looked at him, that soft expression, the ghost of a smile, the way he never corrected your childish antics. How old are you anyway? You asked, leaning against the counter, cheeks flushed from laughter. 5 years older than you. So I can call you old? You can try, he said, walking past you, but I'm still the one teaching you how not to ruin rice. You laughed again, and this time he did too. Not loud, not careless, but real, and it shook something inside you. He knew he was healing you. He knew because he saw the way you started humming while walking through the halls, how you stopped flinching when someone knocked, how your eyes stopped scanning for exits. Every time someone raised their voice, he healed a soul he never broke. But you healed something in him too. No one saw it, but you did. The first time he touched your hair gently when you had a nightmare. The time he stayed up outside your room just because you were anxious. The day he got silent during lunch and you whispered, "What did you lose?" And instead of lying, he told you about his brother, his mother, his innocence. You never pitied him, you saw him, and that was when he knew. The world called him heartless, but you proved love doesn't change a person, it reveals them. Late one evening, while you were walking through the garden after dinner, barefoot on the cold stone path, he joined you. No guards, no guns, just you and him under the quiet stars. You turned to him, a soft smile on your lips. "You know, I forgot." "Forgot what?" he asked softly. "The pain, the people, the past. I forgot how it felt to want to stay." He didn't respond right away, just stared at you. Then softly he said, "Good." You tilted your head. "Why?" He stepped closer, brushed a strand of hair behind your ear. "Because I wanted to remember this place as the one where you finally lived."